Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to be making some hoops with trees of life. So I'm going to start with my wire, and I am going to be putting one dark bead on and then one each of the lighter color beads on each side of the wire. And this one will be for the first leaf of our 3-leaf branch. Now I'll start with a lighter and I'll go to the darker. And then back again. And this will set our gradient pattern. And I use about a thumb width distance so that I can get a good twist in, and it sets the leaf apart from the branch. And then one good twist, and you're going to pick the longest wire and do it again. Light to dark, or I'm sorry, dark, light to dark, that's right. Oh my goodness. And I actually did these pretty quick. I did all of these within a 24-hour period just because I needed to let my glue dry. And I did speed up the glue drying with the heat gun. And here we're going to do a purple. Now the funny thing with purple beads is when I order purple beads, I never get the same color purple. So I do have a few of the dark purple, but I have 2 colors of light purple, which would be lavender. But yeah, it's frustrating with ordering purple. And then I'm going to put on clear beads with this. And I will list all of the products that I used in the descriptions and the sizes for the wires. Start with the clear bead, go to the lavender, and then to the purple. And then back with the lavender, and then a clear bead. And once again, this sets the gradient. I'd actually done all of these branches, and I had forgotten to click the record button. Guess I was excited. And in my last video, the spiderweb, the 8-inch one, I had talked about making these hoops for 2 little girls at church. And so these are going to be going on a 5-inch hoop. And I believe I made 14 of these branches per hoop. Okay, so when you're measuring out your hoop, you take the inches that the hoop is and times it by 3.5. And that's the measurement for your wire to cut for your trunk and your roots and all of your branches. And I always try to make sure that that solder point for the hoop is at the very top. And I am putting the wires on with a slip knot. And I believe there's 12 wires for the 5-inch hoop. Speed this up a little bit. And I'm putting about 10 twists into each one of the wires that are on the slip knot. And one thing that makes this really easy is just to kind of hold on to the wires that you're twisting as you're going around at the base. Look at how fast that hand works. Just like Speedy Gonzales. Straighten out your wires. We're going to put the second set on the next hoop. I had these hoops since I started doing this, when I started following Marianne, and I had plastic beads on there, which were the first beads that I had found. I just went to Hobby Lobby and found some round plastic beads. And the trees were okay, but definitely preferred the glass beads. Way shinier. So this is what we're doing. Now we're going to divide these into groups of 6. I'm just counting to make sure. And hold on to your twist, your original twist, and then twist on top of that. And once again, I like to go just a little bit more than halfway up my hoop, which will give my tree room to bend. And I'm using the Bencrete 22 gauge wire here. I figured the 5-inch would go a lot faster, than the 8-inch, and guess what? I was right. And instead of doubling up the branches like I usually do with the beads, I just did single branches, just so that you could see the tree branches a little bit better. And on such a small hoop, I was just kind of experimenting a little bit here. And I like it, but I do prefer the fuller trees. And right off the bat, I have a miscount someplace. So I have to go back and count all my wires. Notice that I'm holding on to my work. I think in the first videos that I watched that Marianne did, she really pushed holding on to your work. So it's just become a habit that I do. And look how easy it is just to bend that trunk. And then to straighten it back up. Just to give it a little bit of character. So when you're putting on your wires, you don't have to stick with 12. You could do 16. My rule of thumb is increments of 4, and that way your branches work out evenly. And I'm not sure really why I just picked 12 on this. I could have gone 16. So the beaded branches, the way that works out is I use 2 of the tree branches, and each set of 2 has 2 in it. And that makes the branch a little bit thicker. And since you're using the 22 gauge, or I use the 22 gauge, it just gives a little bit more integrity to the branch going across. And so I work it out as 2 of the beaded branches for every branch on the tree. So in this case, I originally made 12, but I ended up using 14. And I put 3 up on top just to give it a little bit fuller look on the very top. And I think that was just because typically I'll make the double beaded branches where you take 2 beaded branches and you twist them together. But on this one, it was, it was smaller. I wasn't exactly sure about my branch placement, so I only made 1 beaded branch for every branch, or two beaded branches for every branch on the tree, rather than 4 and then doubling them up with 2 double branches. That sounds so confusing. I'm sorry. Let me think about how to reword that. Oh my goodness. So I guess there's tree branches and then there's beaded branches. How's that? And I actually think I would have liked it better if I had doubled them up. But, I mean, they don't look horrible. They look pretty cute. They're just not as full as I typically like to do my trees. So at the end of the video, I'm going to show you how to take Marianne's spider. Not the last one she did with the pins, but the one before where she showed how to do the wires. And turn it into, I'm going to call it a butterfly thingamabug. Because it's not exactly a butterfly. But it definitely is not a spider. I wasn't exactly sure what kind of bug it was, but yeah, it's definitely not a spider. It's a flying, colorful, winged bug. And here what I'm doing is I'm just cutting out the center wires, so it'll be the 2 shortest wires. And when I'm putting on the branches, I'm doing that, I try to put in 5 twists with each branch that I put on. So as I'm putting them on, I'll put on 5 twists and then maybe a couple more after that to tie in those little wires so that they're not sticking out all over the place. Just gonna measure this, kind of eyeball it. Make sure one side is not going to be lopsided with the 2 branches, 2 beaded branches. And I'm wrapping the wires around twice, and then I will cut them off. And it was, a couple inches that I cut off the ends, but it definitely was a good length of wire to work with. There wasn't too much waste. And if you're making spiders, all of these little ends, they could be used to make your spiders too. So yeah, long enough not to throw those away. I think the next time I do this, I'll be using the double beaded branches on the 5-inch hoop. I think it'll look a lot more full, and I'll still be able to see the original branches of the trees through them. And I'll probably use 16 wires. And with 16 wires, that would be 32 branches, and then you just double that up, so you'd end up with 16 double beaded branches. Just getting my wires all nice and straight here, and then wrapping them around. And if I have absolutely confused the heck out of you, feel free to let me know, and I will try to explain whatever I misspoke about or confused you on. You can see I'm taking my twist right to the hoop. Then I'm going to keep my longest wires, and I'll cut out the shorter ones. And what you try to do is cut the shortest ones out of the center. So basically I just untangle them and get them to the center of the branch, of the tree branch, and then take them out from there. And we're getting really close to the spot that I can kind of show you where the 16 wires would have benefited us over this project over the 12 wires. So if I'd used the 16 wires, instead of having 3 main branches come out, there would have been 4 main branches coming out. And that would have made the top a lot fuller. And I just had to make one more branch for this tree because I was one shy. I think I was too excited. And once again, going light to dark, and then back again. I learned to do these branches, the beaded ones, from Marianne. She's got some really great tutorials on how to do them. And when I started doing them, I was like, oh, this is my way. This is so pretty. And I have been having so much fun mixing colors and coming up with gradient patterns. And, most leaves have somewhat of a gradient pattern if they're not all green. And so it was a lot of fun. This has been just so relaxing and therapeutic, and I have noticed that since I started doing them, the price of beads have gone up significantly. And the wire too. So I'm always on the lookout for when somebody's having a sale. I have my favorites on Amazon, and I just go through and kind of just scan for sales. Who's having a sale? The Bencrete wire, I really like using it. It's super soft, super pliable. You can easily manipulate the shape of it. And, if you get like a little crinkle in it, it's easy to bring out, except for when you're getting to the center of the roll. It becomes a little more brittle once you've, gotten through the first probably 500 feet of it. And you're going to see in a little bit later on where I start to have a little bit of trouble with the wire. So the next 5-inch tree that I make, it will be, I'll be putting on 16 instead of 12. And I think I'll go ahead and double up on my beaded branches as well. So now we're going to do the pink, and I am going to speed this up a lot for you. So here I'm just showing you how to do the beaded branch again. And once again, we're just going to put 3 leaves on. So the top leaf and then 1 on each side. So one thing is for sure, the more trees that I do and the different size hoops that I use, well, I guess it's true for anything that I've been beading, is I have become my own best critic with it and just learning from each one that I do. What I'd do different next time. And I don't think they come out ugly anymore, any of my trees. But I definitely figure out ways to make them better. When I first started doing trees, oh gosh, I need some ugly ones. I'd take it to my husband. I'd be like, hey, honey, do you like this? And he'd, so sweet, he'd go, yes, honey, that's beautiful. Oh, man, nope, they weren't. So sweet. Oh, there you go, bumping my head against the camera again. One of these days I'll get my head position figured out. Or maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just continuously bump my head, and lucky it doesn't hurt. I wanted to show you that I've been using this Aleene's glue, and you can buy it on Amazon, but it is way less expensive at Walmart. It's like a third the price at Walmart for the exact same size tube, and it works really great. Okay, so here we're going to start my butterfly thingamabobbo, and so I'm using one 20 gauge wire, and that will be my center. And then I have 5 wires cut that are 22 gauge. And they are all 8 inches long. And I used my looper to put an end on. And I'm going to start with a bead cap. And then a large bead. And then, not the last video that Marianne did with the spiders, but the one before that, she shows you how to do these loops in your wire. So you just put a small loop in the wire. And you're going to slide it on that 20 gauge wire. And then you tighten it up once you get there. And then I'll put on another end cap. It's so hard to see, I apologize. And then I'll go with the smaller bead. I think those ones were 8 millimeters. So it might look like we're making a spider, but we're not. I promise you. And then an end cap and another 8 millimeter bead. And this is only my 3rd time doing this, so be patient with me. And I don't know that you can see or not, but those end caps, they are like rhinestone studded, so they're really pretty. There was a lady in the comments the other day and asking if Marianne could make another bug besides the spider. And it got my little pea brain thinking. And it's like, well, what if we did this and this and this? And I am not nearly as proficient with using the looper as Marianne is. She just has this stuff figured out. So like I said, I cut those wires to 8 inches long, and they ended up being too long for what I was doing with it. But, at this point, it's all still an experiment. I don't have anything down. So I started with 2 of the light pink, and then 2 of the medium pink, and 2 of the hot pink on each one of those 2 back wires. And again, that's 22 gauge. Yeah, it's not exactly a butterfly. It's more like a pretty flying thing. So you can see how much wire I have left over. It was way too much. Now I'm going to put an end cap over both of those wires to tie them together. And then I'm going to cut, and I'm going to leave myself maybe just less than 1/2 inch. Oops, wrong wires. Wire cutters, wire pliers. So you use those rounded ones to round off the end of your wire. And once again, 2 of each color on each wire. I'd actually done the purple one first, and that was my trial and error. I think what took all the brain power was figuring out what to use to tie the wires together, because it's really hard to get 2 22 gauge wires through most bead hole sizes. So I had to figure something else out. And I was like, oh, well, I got all these end caps. And I actually got the end caps for free with a bead order. I'm not sure which one, but it's always nice when they send you free stuff. So on this top set, I'm using 3 of each color on each side. Because I want this wing to be just a little bit bigger. Again, I'm going to run those through an end cap. I'm getting ahead of myself there. Thought maybe I should clip them first. No, end cap first, silly. I had ordered some big beads from Amazon, and they are supposed to be in sometime this week. I'm so excited for them. I just keep thinking the bugs I'll be able to make. The spiders, oh my goodness. Some of Marianne's spiders are just, oh, so pretty. She has this green one. I have to try to duplicate it because it's just amazing. All right, so now we're going to work on the antennas. And this is where I can show you that about the wire kind of losing some of its integrity. And I am pretty deep into that roll. I might have like another 50 feet left on that roll of 22 gauge Bencrete wire. And on these antennas, I was putting on 3 beads of each color. So next time I will know not to use the looper when I'm getting so close to the end of a roll of wire. Just because it is so brittle. So here I'm just going to tighten up this piece and it breaks off. So what I ended up doing was taking the 3 last beads I put on each side off so I could trim that wire, the brittle wire. And then I just clipped off the really brittle part, and then I just rolled it with the round pliers. Live and learn. But anyways, yeah, if you have any questions or I forgot to mention something or go over something, please let me know. And happy to link something that Marianne has done to kind of show you better. She's such a great teacher. Or just going to give you more detail. But I'll link all the supplies in the description, so check that out. And yeah, thank you very much for hanging out with me this morning. And oh my goodness, I forgot about that part. Oops, restring it. Was pulled too hard on one side. You can be sure if you can't laugh at yourself, somebody else will. Might as well be the first. And I am so sorry I got off camera here. But I'm just twisting these on with just like some of those little scrap pieces of wire that I had. Just kind of tying it to the roots. Just to add a little more bling to these trees. And there I go, bumping my head again. Now just fold those little bad boys over and voila. A butterfly bug a thing of bug. Something. A fancy flying creature. Yeah. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you all have a great Sunday, and we'll be seeing you soon.